What is up, gang? It is I, Carlton Flowers, your crypto pro.
Yay!
And this evening, we have an emergency Bitcoin report. If you have not already heard, the Fed's announced that the rate increase is only going to be 75 basis points. We did not get the 150, 125, 100. No, 75 points. That is 0.75%. And that is good news. That's the news everybody wanted to hear. And so what is this doing to the market? And what are my thoughts about the effect of that announcement and what happens next? Well, you'll find what I have to say very interesting. So let's just start out with the 4-hour chart, and then we're going to run through and look at the 1-day chart and peel back to the 1 hour. As you can see on the screen right now, this is the pump that occurred from the announcement. And I'll tell you what, it looks to me like right within this area, this green huge candle and the small one up above it is the extent of the whole pump. It could be it. Now, we could jump up in here to the overbought area and stay up there. Sometimes we do know that the stochastic can jump up here and bobble around and stay in the overbought section, just like we saw here, where we had 1, 2, 3 areas where we jumped back up into oversold or overbought, and we had this little run that went up. But then we had a change in direction on the micro level where this swing channel went from positive to negative. And since then, we have been into a micro downtrend. Now, here's why I am not completely getting overly excited like most of the folks that you will see on YouTube that will say, oh, it's bull run time. It starts right here. We're going straight to the moon. Now is the point where we go back to the previous all-time high just overnight. This is why I'm not falling for the hype. Well, there are several reasons, not just one. Well, let's clear this out and talk about it. First of all, we have the VPVR, Volume Profile Visible Range, which always tells us the possible places where Bitcoin lands next. And right now, we are sitting right at this node. We're teetering. Do we go above that node? I don't know. We see that the volume goes down once we get above that price, down to nothing once we get to roughly the 24,000 and higher range, which means we'll need quite a bit of momentum to come out of this news pump to make it up. Now, news is something that everyone depends on that determines price. And I say, show me the chart and I'll show you the news. In other words, it's not the news, but it is the chart formations, the history and the timing of the cycles that determines what happens. Because everyone depends on news to shoot things to the moon. And we know that in the past, we have had many circumstances where you have positive news and then we have a dump. All right, now notice that the stochastic downstairs here on the second level is nearly peaked out. We have a steep incline here, and that is the news pump. Is it going to make it up here? I don't know. We'll wait and see. It's possible. We do see that this little green candle here is fighting, but we see that the momentum is gone. We had the news pump from here to here, and now we're stalling out a little bit. So what happens next? Well, it does look like we're printing green bars on the histogram. We do have a bullish crossover on the MACD oscillators, and we will either see this MACD, the histogram should come up, make a hump, and come down, but we don't know how far up it's going to go. Maybe it stops here and reverses, or it crawls all the way up and does a nice big increase. Same thing on the oscillators. We see that we have had some higher highs on the oscillators. Here's a peak, but the next peak was higher. Will the next one make it up to the top at around this 750 level? Or is it going to lose steam around the 250 level? Time will tell. Well, The chances of moving up from here to me is 50-50. I'm going to draw this line of demarcation right about there, which is the point at which we go right above this volume node that is sticking out right here on the VPVR. If we can make it above that with good momentum, maybe we go higher. If we go higher, what do we have lurking up above but the purple dashed line? Now, I don't have much confidence and faith in believing that we're going to blast through that purple dashed line. I think chances are is going to be a rejection at the purple dashed line if we make it above this volume node. So it's 50-50. We could do that. We could either jump through here and head towards the purple line, and the rejection could happen because you see this is where the VPVR drops off, and then it starts to get quiet at prices above the 24,000 level. Or we could reject right here and go down. But chances are, I'm thinking that maybe we do go above this line here. I'll call it, say, 60-40, 60% probability that we go above this line where we are right now, 40% chance that we reject and we move down. So now we're going to have to look at the next chart in order to get a good educated guess on what the probabilities are. Now notice that I talk in probabilities. I don't talk in absolutes. I'm not a moon boy. I'm not a perma bear. Neither one. I just read the chart and look to see what the chart is telling us about what the next movement could possibly be according to the cycles, the natural cycles. When you have a pump like this, the next wave is going to be down. Now, it might make a higher low, but we're going to have a correction after that pump. So let's see what the one-day chart looks like. Well, there we have it. We've got the news pump, which looks pretty out of place. There was no build up to this. It just shot up out of nowhere right there after this hammer, after this red hammer candle. Okay, that's where the little hammer head is on the top, and then you've got the stem down at the bottom. And so this says that there could be a reversal at that point. Now notice that we see that the oscillators are looking like they want to cross. They haven't crossed yet. Will it cross? I don't know. Now here's that volume node up here that is kind of taking us to the purple line. And we're right close to it. But notice something else that we see on this chart. Well, there's something called the 50 EMA right here. And that would be this orange line, this moving average right here. And what do you see there? But a wick at the top of the candle. That means that we touched the line and we're receding. Okay, so this candle is going to have to fill itself back up and get rid of that wick and break up above the 50 EMA in order to make it up to the purple dashed line. All right, so touching that wick and coming back down does not give me a lot of confidence that this crossover here is going to complete. Notice that previously you had a fake out crossover where it looked like we were going to cross over bearish. Let me get an arrow there. You see it right there where the fast line dips into the slow line, the orange there, but then it glanced back off and went vertical. All right. Same thing could happen here. It could glance off of the orange line and then go back down south. It is possible to see something like that. It is also possible that we have the crossover and we come back up in here to the overbought territory up here in the top of the stochastic above the 80 line. Now, what is not building my confidence, in addition to the fact that we glanced off of this 50 EMA, is the MACD. Notice that we had a hump here with dark bars on the histogram, started moving down, but we humped back up again, and we humped back up again here. But now what are the oscillators doing? They're a little slower on the MACD. Right here, it looks like the fast line, the blue, is curling down and approaching the slow line. Now, just like we have an indication of a possible crossover on the bullish side here, we have an indication of a possible bearish crossover here. And that's what happens when this blue line decides to come on down to this territory, and then that orange line curls over and follows. That would be a bearish cross. So it looks like we could have the completion of a full cycle here where the oscillators come down again, and maybe the histogram, the bars, will start printing down here in the negative below the zero line, just as they did here, and the double that we had down here. Now, just because we come up and have these humps on the green side does not mean that we always have to go back and dip down and cycle through the negative side, just as you saw with this double dip here or this triple dip on the positive side here. But when you look at the oscillators, what are the oscillators telling us? Well, let's just take a look here. We had this slow rise up to a peak, and then we had a slow dip down here. Then we had our next rise up that got taken out by the big capitulation movement there. We moved down, and then we had a slow rise up, and now it looks like we have an impending crossover. So we're going to have to wait and watch and see what happens right there. Does this MACD oscillator cross over and go bearish? And does this potential bullish crossover on the stochastic happen, or does the fast line glance off of the slow line and we go bearish again? And if we do, that could take us downstairs into the oversold territory. All right, so that's the 1 week chart. Let's just scrunch this down so we can see the whole picture before we jump back to the 1 hour chart. Now look at these nodes on the VPVR. Here's the thing. This is why the purple line is so significant. We are trying to fight away from the magnetic attraction. It's like the tractor beam in Star Trek, away from the point of control price at this peak volume node, the biggest volume node on this 1 day chart, which is at a price of like 20,000, a little bit of 20,000. So this candle pump, the news pump, is fighting against the natural momentum as we were trying to cycle down, and then we just went straight up. I don't put a lot of faith in news pumps that violate the trend, all right? Now, we do see a nice little trend on this chart where it looks like you had a high, almost higher high, a definite higher high, and then we need to be kind of up in this level to make a new higher high. But guess what? This falls in the slip zone. See this area here where there's not much volume on the VPVR? It's hard to make it up there without slipping back down. We would have to have enough momentum to blow through the purple dashed line and head into this slip zone and race back up to the black and make it up to this volume node. Now, eventually, when we make it back above this black line, it could be the start of the new bull market. We will have had a bottom, and we'll start building above this point where we have higher highs and higher lows, kind of like that. But are we there yet? I don't think we are, because we have the long month of August and probably September to complete the bear cycle before we really reverse and start to make our way up above these 3 critical dashed lines. So I'm watching for what happens at the purple. Since we've had the rejection already at the 50 EMA, we're really going to need to see momentum ahead of this news pump, after the news pump, to get us to the purple line, which I don't have a lot of confidence in. And then if that doesn't happen, we're probably going to head back down to the red dashed line. Now, what could the low point be? Where's the market bottom? There's a chance it could be the red dashed line. There's a chance we could fall below the red dashed line and go down, way down, and kind of visit the 14,000 to 11,000 range. But it's less likely. We've had such good side banding here. I don't know if we're really going to violate this bottom point. Plus the fact that we have had the death cross already occur on the 3-day chart that happened like somewhere, I think it was around this range right here. And when you have the death cross, let me just put a cross up here, where we had our 200 and our 50, it looked something like this, where the 200's coming along, and then you had your 50 kind of like this. We had our death cross, and after the death cross, that usually says this is where the bottom is. And then you start to crawl up from that point. So that might nullify our thoughts about a capitulation down to 11 to 14,000. I'm thinking that our bottom might be in the 17 to 19,000 range. We'll have to just wait and see what happens. But I don't think this is the point. I don't think this little bit of news is going to carry us above that line. Because we know that for the next several months, the feds are going to continue raising interest rates until the interest rate is higher than the rate of inflation. Right now, interest rates are what, at close to 6% and inflation's at 9%. So we're looking at what, 2 or 3 more months. And if they don't increase the interest rate more than 75 basis points at a time, we could be looking at 4 or 5 months of rising interest rates with the inflation rate going up. Now, have we hit peak inflation? Some say that 9.1 was the peak. Some say that it could get a lot worse than that because the inflation rate has to be less than the interest rate in order for us to pull ourselves through. Are we going to hit into a recession? I don't know. Some say yes, and now some say no, that we may avoid a recession. That's a wait and see. If we don't fall into a recession, then I'm thinking 17 to 19K could be the bottom. That could be it. And then we crawl up from there. Okay, let's end this up on the 1 hour chart just so we can get a closer look at the news pump and see if we see any clues here. So there's the news pump right there. And then notice how we're kind of languishing around the POC. So we're up above it right now. But do we fall back down, or does this momentum take us to the next VPVR node that is right at the purple dash line? You can see that here on the 1 hour chart. Let's put some more range of action in here, make it more clear. Now you can see it. There we go. And we see that the purple line, there's a node right there, but that's at the ledge of the beefiest part of the trading volume on the VPVR. So it kind of looks like here we are in the overbought zone already, fooling around here at the top on the 1 hour chart. And how long are we going to stay there? It looks like the MACD oscillators are just about peaked. And this looks like a pretty good peak on the histogram. So there's going to be a reversal. These oscillators are going to come down and our histogram is going to dip. And so what's going to be the corresponding price? Once we see this dip, what are we going to return here? Is it going to be a price falling down to the red dash line? Or are we going to catch one of these volume nodes just above 20,000 or right at 20,000? That's what I'm waiting to see. But this is why I don't trust this pump here, and I'm going to wait. And as I said again, I think the probability is maybe we see 50, 60% of heading up to the purple dash line, and maybe 50 to 40% of reversing now, heading back to this point of control price on the 1 hour or down to the red dash line. So that's what I see. That's about all I got. I just wanted to get this update in, and I would love it if you would like, comment, and subscribe to the Crypto Pro channel. And one more thing, well, actually, I'll announce that on the next video. I did have some super thanks, and I want to say thank you very much because I did not catch the last 4 that I put out. And I want to make sure that I give a big thank you to everybody who has helped to contribute to the production of the Crypto Pro YouTube channel. I appreciate you, and I will continue to crank out the work with this kind of great support that I have been getting. So that is all I've got for now. This is Carlton, and I am out.